working?
Yeah, all right. So we'll keep admitting, but yeah, meanwhile, we just go live.
We are live now.
Okay.
We probably give it 30 seconds for folks to settle in before we can make a start. Okay, we can make a start. So welcome everyone to the Entrepreneurship Gyan presented by IIT Bombay Alumni Association. My name is Venu Akhil, and I will be the host for this session along with my colleague Vaibhav here. So first of all, welcome to our speaker of the session, who is Mr. Abhay Deshpande. So welcome, sir. And then we welcome all the audience as well as attending this session from different locations across the globe. Before we make a start, we'll quickly sort of introduce what this session is about and what the motive is for the Entrepreneurship Gyan. I'll pass it over to Vaibhav, and then we can proceed with introducing our speaker and then the session. Over to you, Vaibhav.
Yeah, thanks, Venu. So, every time I try to mention the same thing, just the repeating the same line. So those of you who are new, so we came up with this idea like more than 2 months back. So when I started leading the this SIG, Startup and Entrepreneurship Special Interest Group of IIT Bombay Alumni Association, which was already being taken care of by Praveen. So I joined in, I started leading it, and I came up with this idea that okay, why not we start this kind of sessions, events, or hosting people who can add a lot of value. And earlier I had planned something like a podcast in my mind when I was not a part of ITBA, but then when I joined it, this kind of event made a lot more sense. So the idea here is to share the gyan, the wisdom that speakers like Abhay Deshpande or Kavan Veki or Ramanathanji in the past has been sharing and will be sharing in the near future, but also to have mentorship kind of a platform for young entrepreneurs who can be trained or who can reach out to serial entrepreneurs like Abhay ji, as and when needed, and their availability, and a global platform which is a mutual benefit for both the entrepreneurs, the veteran entrepreneurs, but also young entrepreneurs, both from IIT Bombay but outside. But obviously we are IIT Bombay Alumni Association, so we are primarily targeting our own alumni, obviously, but yeah, it's open to others as well, as you can already see. So yeah, so then so that's the idea. So we are still kind of thinking of what kind of mentoring platform we would come up with, but yeah, for sure we would come up with very soon. So stay tuned for the platform, but also for the future events. Yeah, over to you, Vin.
Thank you, Vaibhav. So very quick intro of our speaker, and then we'll have Praveen ji add on his connection as well and some insights on the speaker as well. So Mr. Abhay Deshpande that we've have as a guest for today's session is a serial entrepreneur, and he's left an incredible mark on India's business landscape. So he has scaled startups in different domains that have not been heard of. He's identified opportunities which at the time nobody has really thought of. For example, he was a pioneer in Malamal.com, which was India's sort of first venture in e-commerce wave back in 1998. And then in 2007, he founded MartJack, which was a stellar SaaS enterprise, which is software as a service for those who do not follow the jargons, for e-commerce solution. And he had grown this company without VC funding or private equity investments back in the time. And then it culminated into $1 million acquisition at its time in 2015. So that's another success story in his hat. Aside from it, in 2016, he shifted his focus to sustainability and he founded Recycle. So Recycle, for those who sort of are curious, is a digital platform which revolutionizes waste management. And of course, we'll touch upon these in detail as we go through, but high level sort of some of his ideas that you can see and some of the scalable startups, I think will add on to what we really are going to cover in detail and understand to learn more about his experience and try to imbibe some of those, if not inspire us to sort of start following some of these footsteps. So I think that's a high level intro of his entrepreneurial journey, and that just shows his vision, his insights, and how he's gone through innovation into some of these uncharted territories. I'll pass it over to Praveenji, provide some more intro to our speaker.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Venu. I guess I'm audible. I always like telling a backstory, because it helps contextualize the whole talk. I mean, speaker's talk. This was probably in the year 2018 or 19. I don't remember it very clearly. I did a finished off a strategy workshop for Tata Motors, and I was coming back from Pune to Hyderabad, and Air Vistara guys, they said that the flight is delayed by 1 hour. So I was just sitting in the lounge, and then suddenly I realized that lots of calls were coming both from the Air Vistara as well as from Tata Motors. They're saying that, well, why are you not in the flight? It's already, it's about to fly. And then I started running, and then I realized that the time that I saw probably was, I thought it is late, but it was probably not delayed. And the flight was held up for me. And when I entered, I could see people were angry that because of this guy, this flight is held up. And then I see that what will my neighbor say? I mean, the next person sitting next to me say, I mean, probably he'll also be pissed off. But Abhay was sitting very cool and calm, and then he said, yeah, please come and sit. And then we had a discussion, very short discussion to start with. Amazingly humble person. And then we had a long conversation. He was talking about how he made a Mart Jack big. And then for me, what was more important was the passion that he showed towards sustainability. He spoke a bit about Mart Jack, but then he spoke a lot about recycle. That was the day I said, okay, if at all I get an opportunity to get Abhay speak on an ITB podium, I will get him at any cost. And fortunately, with Vaibhav coming into the team in the SIG that we manage, the technology and startup SIG that we manage, things have moved very fast. And I consider Abhay to be very inspiring, very passionate. He knows what he's doing and he's very committed to what he's doing. Okay, the last presenter was last person who gave a talk in this TEG was Kanwal Rekhi. Kanwal Rekhi, when he comes and speaks, that he knows what he's talking. Exactly, that is what I feel about Abhay. We had a small conversation, short conversation. We then we synced up on LinkedIn, and from then on, I've been looking at his posts, the posts that he, recycled posts, obviously, and then I see that the commitment is there. I mean, he's really committed to ensuring sustainable circularity in this economy. And I feel Abhay would do a fantastic job inspiring all of us to look towards that space. And I welcome Abhay, and I hope all of you will enjoy this talk. And Abhay, welcome. Now, over to you, Venu.
Thanks a lot for that heartfelt introduction, Praveenji. I think it's always good to know sort of a personal connection in the story to, how you've met him. And I think, I don't know if many people found it sort of very interesting that a flight was held up for one person, but I definitely did. Although I'm sure others in the flight at that time might not have appreciated, but I think somewhere down the lane, it was probably a fateful interaction that the two of you were able to meet then. So. All right. So we'll quickly start off with some more sort of questions so that the audience can understand your journey, your perspectives, Abhayji. So we'll start off with some introductory questions just to get the ball rolling. And then as folks have questions, we'd appreciate if you can just put it in the chat, and then we can pick them up as we go through the session. So first of all, Abhayji, I know it would be best to hear about your journey dating back from your graduation, because I believe you graduated in 1995 and you've done your engineering. So after that, a lot of people at that time, or even now, directly just go into the workforce thinking, I want to work in an IT role. I want to join this company. I want to be a sort of consultant or go in a core role. How did you make that decision to jump into entrepreneurship? Like, what was your inspiration at that time? And what were the thoughts that were going on in your mind?
Yeah, thanks, Venu. First of all, thanks, Praveen, for all the kind words. I think I never thought meeting in a flight will land me here for this conversation, but we stayed in touch afterwards on LinkedIn. And I think to answer your question, Venu, that so I got passed out in 1995 from a government engineering college in Maharashtra. Uh, Most of the people, 95 was not really a time where the IT was just building up, the technology space, computer science, all those things. Most of my classmates, 60 out of 60, 40 or 45 became lecturers because still the whole IT wave was not built fully. And for me, I went to Bombay. My father was a government servant. He was a judicial officer in Mumbai. He was a secretary at Government of Maharashtra and Law and Judicial Department. So for me, I went there and I thought my father is at such a good position and I will get job very easily. Those were not the IT days, frankly. It started in 99, 2000 onwards, right? You all know. And but then my father I waited for a month because the openings were not many and computer science was new. And I was waiting for him to help me somewhere to get a job in Tata's or somewhere. That was the expectation. But then I realized in a month's time, one day he called me, gave me 500 rupees, asked me to get printouts of my resumes and start applying. So then I realized that I have to do it myself. And then I actually went to a couple of companies. In one of my interview in Patni, so I got good percentage of marks, but I was not really great in building softwares, frankly. I was not great, and that was not something my passion also. From college days, I had that I wanted to build something, although entrepreneurship, venture capitalist, all these were not the words those days, right? It started post 2000, almost 99, 2000, 95, 96, it was not there. So the changing direction for me, still I was trying for a computer science job, and I thought, I gave a couple of interviews, and one of them was in Patni Computers. And I think that day, the interviewer must be in a very bad mood. I was called for interview. I went there. Within 10 minutes, he realized that I don't know anything, frankly. I'm not fit for this, right? But still, he interviewed for me for 45 minutes. I think some anger he had at home, and he just put it on me. And when I came out, I decided, well, this is not for me. I can't do a job in computer science. I can't write a code. I'm not good in that. I realized very, very hard. And I said, nothing doing. So I moved from there and I said, I would like to get into something which is more a business side. And I joined one of my friend's company in software. And then subsequently that landed me into Hyderabad for a business development role. So in 97, I worked there for 2 years. I didn't work in any multinational company or anywhere. This was a great experience because it was almost a startup. So 97, 98, those are the days where I used to travel between Hyderabad to Mumbai. My parents were in Mumbai. So those days I used to see that Hussain Sagar Express, a lot of people carrying those Karachi biscuits, polarity sweets in the train. And those were and a lot of my Hyderabadi friends who were in Mumbai used to call me and say, "Aate ho to Karachi biscuits leke aao, polarity leke aao." I realized that the Indians are emotional, right? And they have that childhood connects with these products and they would like to consume them. And these products were only available in those cities. And those were the days where people used to make announcement that we do not have any branches. Right? Amchi kuthei shakha nahi, Marathi mein wo bolte hain. We don't have any branches. That something gave me a thought process. Can we do something? Can we bring? And those were early days of internet in India, 97, 98, right? And 99 probably. So I said, can we bring all these local specialty products at one platform and give opportunity for people to buy it from wherever they are? That was the pure, looking at that travel a couple of times, I realized that there is a potential. And that kida was always there, that instinct was always there. So somewhere I felt it might be opportunity to create a marketplace. Those are 98 days, right? People were still talking about internet. People were not even knowing e-commerce was not even heard of. Amazon started in 96. So now I felt that there might be a chance to bring this all on one platform and anybody globally can buy these products or locally also. And that was the starting point of my entrepreneurial journey. And that was the first idea I got. Then I came back, I was looking for and I said, internet. Now, how do you build that? Internet was pretty new. Those were like 100 hours, 3,000 rupees was the internet rate, and getting internet connection used to be 3-month process. So India was not there yet, frankly speaking. But being an entrepreneur, Excel sheet is a beautiful tool. I always tell that the best product for entrepreneur built by anybody is the Excel sheet, right? And because you can create your business plan, you create a plan in next 3 years, you are at least a 500,000 crore company on the Excel sheet, right? Your revenues will jump like anything on Excel sheet. And that gives you kick. Yes, you are building something big, something valuable. We also prepared a plan. As per the business plan, Malamal was supposed to be do a 4,000 crore revenue, started in 99, in 2002 itself, right? And I said, Indian e-commerce also didn't reach that stage by then. But being an entrepreneur, I think opportunity was looking big, and it was connected to the Indian consumer psychology. So that's where my journey towards the entrepreneurship started. I came back, I resigned from the job, and started a small office in Hyderabad. And I decided to do it in Hyderabad because Hyderabad was quite affordable as compared to Bombay. And I got a couple of friends around. And that was a start. 1999, I suppose I registered a company called Malamal.com Private Limited, and the journey started 98, mid 98, I suppose. Now it's a 25th year of entrepreneurship, and no regret. The journey has been like very exciting. Most of the time it was like less ups, more downs, but learned a lot through that journey. And Malamal started in 98. The whole like everybody was only talking about internet those days, and we started talking about selling products online. And surprisingly, because I started going and visiting the brands, those local brands like Pulareddy Sweets in Hyderabad, or Karachi Bakery Biscuits in Hyderabad, or Chitale Sweets in Pune. These are like known brands, and we wanted to bring all of them at one platform. While we went to them, the response from them is, many of them asked me my background. I said, you're a computer engineer, so why are you doing this? Most of the people are asking this question because they say, internet pe kaun kharidega? That's the first question by them. And why are you wasting your time, energy? You just go and join TCS or join Infosys, because those are the companies that were coming up those days. They didn't know that I will not be able to get inside those companies, but at least they were suggesting that. So the idea, then I just requested them, sir, I don't need any money from you. I just need your approval to sell your products. And they somehow, with that passion, because of the passion and everything, they agreed for it. And that started, and we aggregated all of them on one platform. In 98, Malamal was made. We built a small team to build a technology. Those were like early days of internet, right? All of you know that there's nothing there. And made the site live, put a banner on DeccanChronicle.com those days, went home and slept. And next day morning, when we came, we saw around 20 orders coming from various people too. And we didn't know what to do, right? We were just, because there's no logistic company in India. We went to Gati, Blue Dart. The question was, what is e-commerce? Right? Forget about fulfilling it. And those are very, very early days. The payment gateway was not available in India. We got a payment gateway from an international company where money used to come to us every month in dollars. So I think quite a bit learning. The market was not ready. People were asking about what is e-commerce was the general question. But about what is internet used to be the question. But then somewhere that instinct was there that this is going to be the next big thing, right? And India, wherever globally. And we're seeing today at least multiple billion-dollar companies got built in e-commerce. From those 100 orders per day India used to do during our days to a 5 million orders per day is already happening here, $10 million. And I think we're seeing billions of dollars of transactions happening. So I think that it was, if you ask me, it was 10 years ahead of the time. And when I look back, the 98 was not a time. The time was 2007, 2008. But as I said, no regrets. Those could not become Malamal from monetary perspective during that in 8 years of entrepreneurship. Very tough entrepreneurship. I think when I launched it, it was crazy, right? The web 1.0 was happening. US, lot of .com boom was happening. Suddenly I was flooded with a lot of investors behind me. We would like to invest in your company. 2 acquisition offers. first generation entrepreneur, don't know why are people behind you, right? We're just doing 10 lakhs per month GMV, right? Those days. GMV was also not a word, but then these are all many things were not clear. The mentor ecosystem system was not there. Venture capitalists were not there. But we learned a lot through that process. But then after 2000 crash, the dot-com bubble bursted, right? Suddenly all these people disappeared. No one was even not picking our call, and no one was even talking. Everybody was with the checks to invest in our company. Everybody vanished completely. Then I realized the one we had a 70 people team, cost, and still we continued. Being an entrepreneur, you're optimistic. You would like to keep trying. And 1.5 years I tried, but then I realized that no funding is going to happen. But unfortunately, by then we had a liability of almost $1 million, 6-7 crores on company in terms of employee payments, vendor payments. And those days, 6 crores was a pretty large amount for a person from middle class background. You can understand. And the point time, I had two options by 2001 that close the company, join somewhere, or just continue fighting. And I decided the second option, continued fighting, and ran it till 2007. Almost cleared all the liabilities, big learning. And that's what I said. I could not become malamal from monetary perspective, but learned a lot about entrepreneurship. What should not be done was the major learning during that period. Went through hell, tough times. 10 rupees were like $10 million. All that, whatever an entrepreneur could see in life. Daughter was thrown out of the school because could not pay her fees, and from anything which can happen. But that during that journey, the family support and everything really helped. And by 2006, the first journey of entrepreneurship I completed, and then started my second startup in 2007.
I think that's a very, very heartwarming tale to hear, Abhay, because I think when you hear of the story, like you said, that there were more downs than ups, but still you sort of, saw your way through and made sense of, direction where you want to head towards, how do you want to go to, and made those tough decisions at that time. And I'm sure because as sort of many people here might sort of be the young entrepreneurs who are still sailing their way through, some of these decisions and these insights are very helpful, especially things like, using Excel is something so powerful yet underrated, is something that I've realized when you spoke, because what people do these days is they start projecting via different forecasting tools using very fancy algorithms and telling, where people will land and what the sales will be like and so on. But at the end of the day, as simple as an Excel can work, as long as you're sort of getting the right numbers, getting the right details in it, and gives you that gratification, is something that I think is very amazing to hear. Also, separately, very, very amazing part was that despite facing those challenges, you used it as an opportunity to step and grow, which I think is a very powerful takeaway, because in the startup ecosystem, you'll have, say, 1% of people who would take up entrepreneurship and sort of see their way through. And even in that 1%, there's probably less than 10% success chance for people who've persevered. So I think that 25 years, when you present it as a learning opportunity, and definitely we will touch upon the successes as well as some of the challenges. I think people are curious to understand a little more in detail, especially now you started off with Malamal, is very, very learning and insightful. So we'll take one of the questions.
I think Abhay, maybe you can answer this one. So, was Amazon around this time when you started? So somebody, Kamal is asking. So, maybe you can, just,
Yeah, so I think Amazon started in 1996 and 95. Not that big those days. It was again, I think it was going through their early startup journey. Only difference was Amazon was in a right market and we were in a wrong market. India was not ready for e-commerce. US, anyway, was ahead of us for 15, 20 years in terms of technology, in terms of credit cards. India had 3 million, no, not even 1 million internet connections and some 3 million credit card holders. Who will buy online? There's no logistic service providers. Internet used to get disconnected every 5 minutes. When I took a payment gateway, ICICI Bank gave us the payment gateway. It was the first payment gateway of India is what we got. And the failure ratio of the transactions was almost 30-40%, 50%. And the transaction fees was 5.5%. And just you can imagine today 1.2%, and might be below that. So Amazon was there, it was around, and they just they moved from books to some other place. But we were not really very, it was not following Amazon, because Amazon was also in early stage of the journey. And our model was more ethnic products. We didn't create a horizontal marketplace, it was more a vertical play where we just wanted to focus on that Indian emotion aspect, where the local brands and ethnic speciality was something which we want to bring on the table.
Right, definitely, Abhay. I think I still remember, and of course, when I say this, I'm still very young to say this, but I remember we used to have that cable line connection, which we used to connect to our devices and pull a wire out of the telephone to use the internet. And I don't know if there are preceding technology before that, but at least that is what my childhood of
That is what the technology was, the telephone line connections. And that it used to take at least 2-3 minutes. That used to be a sound, and it was different world altogether.
Yeah.
Right. And I think another interesting question from Vilas is you were, say, 10 years ahead of your time back then, but there would have been some advantages of that. Could you highlight some of the advantages that you were able to reap out of it?
So the advantages, as I said, all the businesses or startups I did or what I'm doing are generally the spaces which were not explored by anyone before. So when we started Malamal, it was an e-commerce marketplace. India was still trying to do internet. So it was quite a ahead forward thinking, or I will say it was I should have tried it after a couple of more years. But that kida passion of the entrepreneur, and that something that Excel sheet again makes you that these things will happen. It will make it happen. So my answer here is that the advantages are many, because you are the first mover. Your expectations are very limited, because there's no one who has done something better than you, because you are trying it first time. So you have opportunity to fail comfortably, but you don't have to really worry about that somebody has done it in your bedroom. You are the first one to do it, so you have that open slate where you can do whatever way you try it out. So you can fail multiple times. So the biggest advantage of doing this is that because you are yourself is doing, so you can fail multiple times, try various innovations. Those use you opportunity to do multiple new things into the system. At the same time, the disadvantage is that convincing people on it, right? Convincing people, not just your employees, your vendors, your clients, everybody has question marks. I remember when I used to go to people told me to just go and do a job. Why are you doing this? We'll buy online. Because those were the 98, nobody was even thinking about internet. It was too ahead of the time. But convincing them, then at home, when I used to go, people used to ask me, what do you do? Right? And I used to say, internet pe e-commerce I'm doing. The e-commerce was not heard of anybody. A place in Aurangabad. So it's simple, dukaan khol diya internet pe. So then they used to ask, why have you opened a shop in Hyderabad then? Internet pe kyun khola hai? Why don't you open in Aurangabad? Right? So generally, whole ecosystem, when you do such things ahead of the time, you have to really face people. A lot of people suggested me, a lot of my classmates, out of 60 batch, 58 were in US by then. And most 90% of them were in TCS, and they are still in TCS, right? So these are like, the point was saying that this is Abhay kyun kar raha hai, dukaan kyun khol ke baitha hai. So you have to hear all those things, but then when you're convinced yourself about it, and when you are driving it, I don't think there's that is a more important aspect. But starting early ahead of the time has its more disadvantage, let me put it, and less advantages. But it always gives you that kit that you are doing something different. You are innovating, you are disrupting the market.
Right, absolutely. I think that is sort of very insightful when you look at the strategies, and I'm sure you have, and we'll touch upon this short. You have done a lot more of the sort of blue oceans and created startups and concepts where people are still wrapping their heads around and were new to the era. So I think definitely had say the .com bubble not happened, or say, things like India's sort of placement in terms of technology being better, we are sure this would have been the current Amazon. So
I have a submission to make here. I mean, I feel I always keep telling this, like, if you are a startup, you have more disadvantages than advantages. We talk about competitive advantage, the first movers advantage and all that. That does not stick to startups because they get into the market, they have to educate the market. Okay, so a lot of money is spent just on educating. And then the second players that come in, they actually farm, they take away the market. It's first movers advantage is very good for established companies, but not for startups. And in that, I feel that Abhay has been a pioneer. I mean, despite the fact that he has been a first mover in whichever space he has been into, he has turned into a great entrepreneur. See, the kind of conviction that he has when he speaks, it's very pretty contagious. I find it very contagious. The kind of passion that he has. And I guess all the youngsters that are there in this room today, listening to Abhay, will take home this point that, well, no matter how many times you fail, no matter what the problems are, if you have that passion, if you have that commitment, you're sure to succeed.
Yeah, absolutely.
right. So Abhayji, as we sort of look at, the next steps, because as you come up with ideas, the next part of coming up with ideas is how do you scale it up? How do you build these startups? And as you had mentioned, I think even in one of your ideas, there was another competitor who is currently looking at trying to scale up their startup in competition or in collaboration with Recycle. So how is it that, as an entrepreneur, one can scale up their startup? What are the sort of challenges that you get, especially, with regards to funding, with regards to, say, setting up the team, hiring people, expanding markets, just some of these decisions that you have to go through, and how do you go about them?
So, the first thing is, before scaling up, you need to really identify an opportunity or a problem which you are solving, and is that really a problem, first of all, right? And that's the first phase of any startup. And if you take Recycle as an example, we started Recycle in 2016, and 16 end almost. 17 and 18, these are the 2 years we call it as we just did experimentation, because new space, any new space you take. I'm just giving an example of Recycle, but any startup follows through that journey, and particularly a startup which is taking a new space which doesn't exist, was trying to do something which was not done before, right? And in all my 3 years, it was e-commerce, then first SaaS company of India in 2007, and then the sustainability startup. So I say that 2 years it took us to really understand the space, and really, are we really required? Is our presence, the business of sustainability or waste management was going on for years before us, right? There are informal segment, there are millions of people who are already working there, and we were just thinking, are we really adding any value? Now, unless we are adding some value, no one will adopt. There will not be adoption for us. So it really took us 2.5 years to really get there. What is the problem? What is the understanding? And then when we found the formula after spending 2.5 years, 2019, we then that was the time where we really went aggressive. And what has really worked in our scale is that we could identify a right problem and a right solution for it. That was first requirement. Unless you are solving some problem which is going to help your client to have at least help him in top line or a bottom line, or you're solving some pain point for him, you're not going to get the customers. And the first important that you need to have that conviction, and some clients were watching for you. And then only you start thinking about the scale model of it. Now, the scale is all about, if you have those customers, and if you're seeing that the customers are happy and they are seeing some value out of your product, you need to get those fundamentals right. The first phase, you have to just think about your customer. There are two things which makes a difference. A right team, and I always is an advocate of this, that if you want to scale your startup, even if you have millions of dollars, you have whatever funding available, if you do not have a right team, you cannot scale your startup. So my fundamental principle is that 10, if there is 10 points for a successful startup, the 8 goes to a team, 1 goes to a founder, and 1 goes to everything else, right? Investment, funding. And I always generally very openly tell me that if somebody gives me option, when I'm If I start a fourth startup again, it might be after a couple of years, and if somebody says, "Well, here is $100 million, and there are 7 great co-founders," I will choose the 7 co-founders because I am sure they will bring billions of dollars. Because one person cannot solve all the problem. It's all about, I have vision, I can see few years down the line, but I'm not good in few things. I'm not good in finance. I'm not good in, might be somewhere else. So I think the idea basically that to scale the startup, the fundamental premise you need to have a great team, co-founders, or you can call about your next level team who are aligned with your vision, and then they are aligned to execute it. Because startups are all about people, right? Funding comes when you have right team, right people. So I think my focus is, when I think about scaling, is make your fundamentals right, make your product solve some problem, demonstrate it, get a right team, everything will fall in place.
Excellent.
that's-
So yeah, so in fact, somebody is asking, so what do you look for in a person when you are building a team? Because you already mentioned now that you will choose 7 co-founders rather than $100 million. So now people are asking, what do you look for in your team members?
Again, the first of all, when you are building a team, right? When I always recycle, I take example. We are a team of 6 people today at a core of it. Co-founders 5, and 1 CFO is almost a co-founder. So if you look at the team, every one of us comes with a different expertise, right? You see, I'm the only person who do not have any tag aligned with it, but everyone, somebody comes with a great technology background, somebody comes with a sales background, somebody comes with a strategy background, and most importantly, they are passionate about it. That is one thing. So for me, that positive energy, one thing which I look at when I meet a person. He might be Harvard pass out, he might be IIT, IIM, but if he's not positive, he's not for me. Definitely not for me. And not just as a co-founder, but not as a part of team also. Because I feel that the journey is going to be with so many downs and so many ups. What will make in the initial phase of your business is your passion, your positivity is going to make. You are going to fail multiple times. And I had one such team member, and I know that how bad it is, because one negative person can spoil the whole positivity in the company. And I have personally experienced it in past. So I was very clear that the positivity, qualification is required. He should be good in what he's going to do. Definitely good, no doubt about it. If somebody is going to lead sales for me, he should have that ability to think big, take it at a scale. Assuming that those things are there, but assuming all those things are there, but still he's not, the positivity is not there, or he's not optimistic, doesn't have patience, then he's not a part of the team. Third thing, I believe that building trust, I think that need to be an important quality of an entrepreneur. And I feel that whether you build trust in your client, because you're just a startup, nobody knows you, right? When you go with your visiting card, you're just somewhere in Hyderabad, small 600 square feet space, you're sitting and doing something. You might have a website, but reality is you're nothing in the world. What makes you that if you have that ability to really convince, be passionate about your business, that builds a trust in the clients, whether it is client, whether it is employees, or whether it is investors. You have to sell yourself everywhere. And that comes, if that trust you could build with them, that they feel that trust about you and your product, I think half of the job is done. So I look at the people who have these abilities, frankly, sometimes the education qualification doesn't really matter. I have one of my co-founders is just a BCom, but she has made the business and took Recycle from a 0 client to 100 clients in just 9 months. So, right, that's her passion, right? And that draws us to the people. So so to answer your question, there's a standard formula I have. Many times that goes with instinct, but fundamental premise is positivity, trust, passion. I think if 2-3 things are, out of these 3 things, 2 are sorted, positivity has to be there. Rest everything gets sorted for sure.
I think that is already well answered. Yeah. Please continue.
Right.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead. I think definitely those qualities that you mentioned not just make you a great team player, I think they make you a better individual as well. So always, if you have a passion for something, will definitely contribute and go above and beyond, even sort of when you're in the face of obstacles. So I think that sort of very well is aligning with one of our other questions. How do you sort of motivate yourself on a day-to-day basis, given the number of challenges that you face, and how do you handle distractions when you see them?
Oh, I think, again, I don't have any standard formula for this. But if you're passionate about something, if you're convinced yourself about something, every problem looks small. That's what I have experienced. I remember during my Malamal days, more than Malamal days, the next venture, Marjack days. This is the first SaaS company of India which we built, and you will be surprised that this generally the product companies are built with a lot of funding, right? You need a lot of funding to build a great team, build a technology. Marjack was nothing but a Shopify of India, and same Shopify started in US. Similar month or month before we started Marjack. We didn't know there is a company called Shopify in the US. Again, the difference was they were in a right market, we were in a wrong market, because India में SaaS नहीं चलता and अभी भी नहीं चलता है, right? And the enterprise SaaS is what is working in India. Otherwise, India is not a software as a service market. India is a software and a service market. So DIY doesn't work in this country. It is DIFM, do it for me, right? Do it yourself doesn't work. And everyone is like that. And as soon as we land in Singapore, we start adopting DIY. As soon as we come back to India, we want DIFM. So we built great team. My co-founder built a great technology. Nitin has built a great technology. We did all that. But then we realized that the clients were not, the people want, they just don't want technology, they want service aspect also into that. So those learnings which we saw in the Indian context were completely different as compared to the other markets which we have seen. And one second. So the challenges which we were facing during those period were different. Indian context was completely different at that time. Did I answer the question, Venu?
Yes, absolutely, Abhay. I think that is definitely helpful. We have a question from Vinayak who's asking, what challenges do you observe in the recycling space in India, especially in batteries?
This space is full of challenges. So I think I can speak about it for hours anyways, but I will just try to keep it as brief as possible. We can have a detailed offline conversation on this. So recycling, this is the waste management space it's one of the oldest industry. All of us know that. It is one of the largest industry which very few people know. E-commerce, M-commerce, SaaS are nothing in front of it. It is very, very small fraction. The circular economy, now the latest buzzwords around it is circular economy, sustainability, which was not there 5 years back as we get the new buzzwords, but it's very, very big. Plastic, paper, e-waste, metal, batteries, tires, every category is shaping up for sure. Biggest challenge here is that it's an informal segment. And for last 50, 60 years, just to give you context, 1.5% of Indian population gets food every day because somebody in their family is working in waste management. Even IT doesn't have this large impact, right? Unfortunately, 80% of this workforce is exploited and at the very, very bad shape. And there are some middlemen which are really taking out the maximum value out of it. Most of the transactions are cash-driven economy. Compliances are zero, right? Because these people don't want to do that. They're not even made aware about it. So when we decided to get into this industry, there were multiple challenges, making it informal or formal. And it's very, very informal. Basically, nobody want to pay GST, or 18% GST, why should I pay? So for us, there were and general perception about these informal guys had, and there are so many layers in between. By the time the waste goes out of your home, by the time it reaches to the recycler or a landfill or ocean, it goes through 7 different layers. There are 7 different people, and they know only one layer above and one layer below. So complex domain, and the handling those complexity was not at all easy. And particularly batteries is a new category anyways. Now it is shaping up, but making that compliance, because being a startup, being a funded company, we always were very clear that zero tolerance on compliance. And we were clear, I was clear in the form of my second venture itself that I will be very particular. I want to do less business, but it has to be completely complied, because that is a very, very important aspect of business. And we wanted to be different there. Second piece was, how do you bring that trust? And it takes time. It took us 3 years for the informal ecosystem to trust us and start transacting with us. Otherwise, generally, if you go with a private limited company, the first thing the segment feels that we are here to exploit them. We're here to kill their business. So building that trust was important. So one of few calls we took that none of our team members will touch waste. That was our one principle we decided from day one. Because that what made that sure that they were not feeling competition from us. We said we want to build an ecosystem. We'd like to get everyone on our platform, whether it is recycler, whether it is government, whether it is anybody else. And that approach slowly started working. It took us 3 long years to build that trust in the informal segment, 2017, 18, and 19. But 19 April onwards, we started seeing the ripple effect. That trust got built, that virality started coming in, and we have been growing 4x year on year for last 4 years, and without any spend on marketing or growth marketing, because this industry is so connected. The one guy who's doing electronics recycling, his cousin is doing plastic recycling, or somebody is doing battery recycling, but the very connected ecosystem. So we actually understood that and focused on building that trust around the brand, that these guys are not here to kill their business, they are here to enable their business. And we could create some good case studies and show those returns to our clients and our customers. I think that ripple effect started happening. So battery is the next big thing. I think it's still in the early stage of its journey. Still people import batteries and recycle it, and the compliance, the PR compliance which has come recently in batteries is also going to bring a lot of formalization into the industry. But it's the next 6-7 years journey which we have to go through.
I think that's very interesting to hear. You've sort of highlighted that, when you look at some of these spaces, these points that, you don't want people to feel threatened. And that sort of realigns with people having a more trust in you as a brand, as well as highlighting that, your sort of priority to focus on compliance. I think a lot of people may not be aware that, when you look at any company, sort of one small incident can do more damage to a company's reputation as a whole than, just 100 other instances where the company has not been in radar. So I think that's how important compliance is. So your point of zero tolerance to compliance issues is definitely very, very important. But I think that's a great thing. And transitioning into another question, because I see Shailesh has asked this, is, when you work in this line and you're a new startup, definitely people don't know you. So how is it that, you get customers? How do you approach people? How do you, tell them that this is something completely new? So like you said that, people, when they see something new, they might be like, oh, you're starting a computer shop in a town. Whereas say, oh, you're trying to recycle waste. Well, how is it different from what we are doing? How do you break those barriers? How do you get clients?
So I think here comes your own conviction about your product and service. I will give a small example. With the example, I will explain. So we innovated something called digital deposit return system in India in recycle. That is latest last 2 years back. We have been working on it for a couple of years, and we were convinced that this is going to change it is going to solve India's littering problem for sure. And it need to be implemented still. It will bring that large scale behavioral change. So we had a conviction about it. It's very simple. You buy a Coke bottle, and that is happening already in 81 states and 60 countries already, right? But India is different. India needs a different treatment also. So that is called as deposit return system, where every packaging container will have a deposit, which after consuming, the consumer has to give it back, either manually or in the machine, reverse vending machine, and he gets his money back. Simple. That brings people that will stop littering. People will not litter it on roads. People will keep the bottles. Every house today we cut the Maggie packet and we put it in dustbin. And as soon as it goes into dustbin, it goes get contaminated. And 40% market value is gone for that. Because that material can be reused. That can be brought into circularity. So we had complete conviction about it. But the biggest challenge there was getting a mandate, because this has to be mandate from the government. It has to be a policy by the government. Then only it is successful. One individual brand cannot do it. What we did then, we were convinced, so we got an opportunity. We went to Kedarnath and we did a pilot on our own. We invested our own money. We sent our team from Hyderabad to Kedarnath, implemented this scheme at our own cost. We didn't ask any revenues from Rudraprayag to Kedarnath, the 20 kilometers. Every bottle sold there had a 10 rupee deposit mandated by the local collector. So we said we can solve this problem for you. We saw opportunity because Modi ji came in February last year in Mann Ki Baat and spoke about littering in Kedarnath in a big way. And then the collector got active. So we took that opportunity, went there that we can help you in solving it. We don't need money from you. We had conviction. Went there, from zero collection to 160,000 bottles were collected in 2.5 months. Suddenly the whole perception changed. Suddenly that became a media news. Suddenly it went to the national media. We got a national award by the president in January 7th for the biggest disruption in waste management, all whatever. That one investment, one execution without any, we went to the client, say we'll do it free, we'll show you the result. Suddenly we had 40, 50 municipal corporations reaching out to us. They wanted to implement it and we have just signed first state level implementation in India, which will be announced soon, and in just a period of 1 year time. So the general person that go to your customer, show your product, show the results to him, word of mouth will happen. Don't worry about it. If your product is delivering value to your customer, no, that's the biggest asset you have. It will spread. Your customer is your best ambassador. That is the way you can make it happen. So this, I give you a case that government was my client. I would have gone to them, RFP, I said, nothing doing. We invested 40, 50 lakh rupees, went there, did the job well, without any expectation. But that created a base that, yes, behavioral change can happen. If it can happen in Kedarnath, it can happen in Uttarakhand, it can happen anywhere. So I think that's the approach. Generally, to answer this question, that prove your product as a startup, and after that your product talks, then you are not required to talk, your product will speak. And even in my last venture, when I built a MartJack SaaS company, it was solving some problem for the retailer, because a small retailer doesn't need to have technology team, he will not be able to hire, he could create his own online store that time, and it was solving a big problem for them. And then we saw 10 people coming online, getting some orders, that spreads, and then you get the larger market share.
Right, definitely. I think, again, this touches back to what you had originally alluded to earlier as well, Abhay, was that, when you initially come up with a startup, definitely see what problem are you solving for people and whether that problem can be scaled up. And I believe you'd suggested take first 1 or 2 years to look into all of these, the initial aspects itself, so that when you go through in the later journey, it becomes easier for you, and the sort of journey then becomes much more about expanding. You had mentioned MartJack before this, right? I definitely think a lot of people here would be curious, and at some point or the other in an entrepreneur's life, you get this question: my startup has started, it's running. What is the right time to make an exit? When do you sort of see your startup as growing? When do you see it as time to let the baby out of the cage and then sort of move to your next venture? How do you make those decisions?
So, I think the first fundamental principle for any entrepreneur, which I have learned in the last 25 years, I have built a couple of startups, sold a couple of them. One thing I have learned that you should never sell your startup. Your startup should be bought. It should not be sold first. As soon as you go and in the market with an investment banker taking a mandate to sell your software, you are done. You will not get the right value for the product, neither you will get that respect. You should be bought. And people should, you do what PR you want to create around it, all marketing you want to do around it, but you should have an inbound interest to sell your startup. That is where, otherwise it's a distress sale. It's a acqui hire, whatever XYZ good names we have nowadays. which doesn't really give you the returns for your efforts at the end of the day. Number one. Number two, I think the exit journey again is an interesting journey. I always tell that it is easy to build a startup. It is very tough to sell it. It's not easy. And I have seen 2-3 of the kind of due diligence you have to go through, kind of numbers you have to, everything what you need to do in that process. Generally, it starts with a conversation that, okay, we would like to acquire you, the deal will happen in 3 months. It never happens in 3 months. It takes 9 months, good 8 to 9 months for a serious deal with a decent value, right? The timing of exit is again an instinct of an entrepreneur. Now, when I sold Martjack in 2012, many people were doing decent. We had almost, those days dollar was 60, so $4 million ARR and all that stuff. And we could attract a decent multiples of that. So a lot of people came to me, Abhay, you know, 50 million, 60 million में क्यों बेच रहे हो? 200 का हो जाएगा. I said, well, there is no way, there is no end to this discussion. 200 पे बोलोगे billion का हो जाएगा, right? So we have to somewhere take those, अंदर से आवाज आती है कि भाई hard call लेना पड़ेगा अभी आपको, because and Martjack was not an easy journey. I think Martjack was again better than the Malamal journey. Great team, had great co-founders, Nitin, Girish. But point was, it was not scaling. India was not ready for SaaS. India was not ready for the domestic SaaS, enterprise SaaS. And we were ahead 3-4 years ahead at the time. When this offer came in, before that, we had an offer from Amazon. So Amazon wanted to acquire us. We went through a process. The deal couldn't go through. 2012 was the time when Amazon was launching in India. And that was a big setback for us. That's so near, so close. Our first HR interview happened that time. Everything was done almost. But then the deal couldn't go through. After 2.5 years, we got this opportunity. It was again inbound. So we didn't approach them. They said, we are interested. Capillary, and we felt that there is a 1 + 1 11 is equal to 11 story. And the connect got built, and we decided to take a call, right? So again, these are all subjective things. At the same time, in Malamal.com in 2000, I had an offer, 99 I started, 2000 I had an offer to sell it for 25 crore rupees, those days. So 25 crore rupees, 100% acquisition. I didn't sell it because there was, don't know what was there in mind, my startup, I have built this company, but 25 crore was a great value for a 1 crore GMV company, right? Didn't sell it. That was the wrong decision, right decision, I don't know today. So somewhere this entrepreneurial instinct, where you stand, you get those signals from the market. Are you there? Are you somewhere? See, everyone has a limit. Someone is very good to take your company to a certain level, and then somebody else has to take it from there. You have to sometimes accept that reality. And in Martjack case, I felt Anish Reddy, Capillary, was a better person to take it forward from there, and he can make a better judgment for this. Personally, I felt it has been a 17 years of hardship for me. Time to take a break. Time, and there also some wanted to spend some time with family, friend, everything was, never did that before. So there were multiple small personal reasons, but majorly a professional reason that I felt time has come for this, and it together will become a larger value than what we are going to try to build. So you get the signals, the entrepreneurs get the signal. At the end of the day, the call has to be taken by them. And they have to always remember that there will be people around you who will say, don't sell now, undersell kar rahe ho, aur bahut badh jayega, ye badh jayega. Kuch nahi hai. Get your own, the way you started your startup with your instinct, duniya se aage nikal ke. Just make sure that similar way take that decision. Don't feel any regrets. It might that the guy, YouTube was acquired by Google, and today YouTube is multi-billion dollar, but yeah, destiny is there. Like you can't get a top of the market and bottom of the market anytime. Sometimes these are calls which entrepreneurs has to take. Even the investors will put it on you, you decide. And sometimes if you're lucky, the investor will force you to sell, then you don't have option to sell. But luckily I didn't have that situation anytime.
Right. I think that's a very classic theory as well, and more of an experience when you look at, say, even the markets as traders or people who are into trading as a passion. We see that, we can never sort of be at the top of the market, and hopefully people are not at the bottom of the market as well. So
Absolutely.
And I think very well summarized by Praveenji here is that, when you sort of look at a company, it should always create a pull towards towards it, garnering that interest instead of the entrepreneur pushing the company away, saying that, all right, I think I'm done with this company, sort of thing. So I think that's a well summarized point. We have this question from Ivan Richard, who's asking if there's a possibility to collect waste glass bottles using reverse vending machines. So Abhayji, what's your take on this
Yes,
idea?
absolutely. Even the possibility of reverse collecting glass bottles using reverse vending machine is possible. It is happening in a couple of countries already. And we are also implementing it from April onwards in one of the state in the country. All the glass bottles, aluminum containers, and plastic bottles, hard plastic bottles, will be collected in the phase 1 of the model. And the reverse vending machine, we also have built our own reverse vending machine at Recycle, which will be used there. Plus, we are also have some partners like global companies like Tombra, who we have partnered with. So they have like a 50-year-old company who have been very active in reverse vending machines. So we're going to use their technology in partnership with them. And both the products takes care of glass bottles. And we also Indianized it because what we have proposed in the state that every bottle will have a unique QR code. Otherwise, the fraud percentages are going to be very high. The problem with reverse vending machine is that if I don't control the fraud, otherwise India, if I implement it in one state and assume that there is a 10 rupee deposit on a beer bottle or a plastic bottle, there is a 5 rupee deposit on a container. The problem is that people, and if I just put it with a barcode, which is a serial barcode in the system, it will not work because then people will bring truck full of bottles from other state and put it in the machines and take cash out. And there will be less deposit and more refunds very soon in the country. So we have actually built a solution which that every container will have a serialized QR code. And it's going to be in billions, right? And then when you bring the machine, bottle to a machine, it will read, whether it's glass or aluminum, it will read the QR code and then dispense money to you through your UPI account. And India UPI, everybody has a UPI. So I think this is possible, and this will be soon a reality in India by March this year, March 2024.
Wow, that is fantastic to know, Abhay. I think I mean, I'm sure many people here weren't aware of it, but phenomenal to see, the way we're escaping different landscapes and using technology. I think this sort of drive that Modi ji at least had pioneered by getting these wallets and everything done as much, I think has really helped us a lot. Literally I'd see people doing this usually, and one fear that I would have is whenever a machine is sort of vending out change, and this I used to see this, right? As a kid, we used to have that yellow box phones in which you'd put 1 rupee and you'd make a phone call. Is people would punch that and then it would dispense out 1 rupee coins out of it. So I used to wonder, of course, ATMs are very secure, but what about the other machines that are placed? Like, why is it sort of, how do you ensure safety? So I think that way, if you transfer money to UPI, that's definitely a very secure way, and people have less chance of scamming the system there. So.
Right.
And moreover, the solution is customized to India, which is really great.
That is important.
Yeah, you already understand that. Okay, this solution, existing solution might work maybe in Spain or France or US, but it will not work in India. You already know about it, and you are customizing it to India itself. It's really great. Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
You have to cover the Indianized version of it. Otherwise, the system will be broken everywhere. So
yeah, true.
What I see here is, Venu, I don't think you're that old to know about yellow phone boxes. That is a product from our times. so, but it's nice to know that you know about these boxes. Whatever Abhay has done till now, I mean, this is absolute brass tacks entrepreneurship, isn't it? Brass tacks entrepreneurship, all the gyan that we go and wipe out. I mean, entrepreneurship gyan, right? This is exactly the gyan that our guys needed.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah,
the
exactly.
kind of persistence, the kind of passion. His passion is very contagious. I've been writing it here on the meeting chat. His passion is really contagious. And he talks straight sense, isn't it? He said, don't talk about big things. Entrepreneurship mein yahi hota hai. Right? Exactly. I mean, फालतू के templates नहीं चाहिए. Instinct is very important. The gut feeling is very important, which Abhay has, right? And when he explained his story about how he sold Markjat. Mart Jack.
Yeah.
Yeah, Venu.
Right, I think that's a very true point. Even when you said that, that internally andar se awaaz aata hai. So I think that's a very true thing, and probably that is where the entire sort of downs that you see in your journey as an entrepreneur comes in handy. So as much as you have ups, it's always beneficial to have those downs, which of course at that moment will feel odd, and definitely no one will want to have it. But I think that is those stepping stones for greater success. So I think
And the other
I'm
point,
sure possible.
one more point here is that, see, there is no option. The entrepreneur has to own the decision. आपने अच्छा decision बनाया, you sell. So I will give an example. When Amazon wanted to buy our company, the deal could not happen. Those 8 months, I was a superstar for everyone. I was like all the 80, I had 86 investors, angel investors from 11 countries, 22 cities. And I was like the poster boy for them. Company Amazon को बेच रहा है, deal हो गया, term sheet signed, due diligence over, SHA registration on. And फिर एक दिन phone आता है आपको as usual कि Abhay, this is not happening, no emotions, and we're emotionally so connected. सुबह उठते खाना खाते वक्त भी सोचते थे कि Amazon को क्या लगेगा, right? Can we eat this, right? So you get connected that way. That emotional, we are all emotional, and those guys are not emotional. They're very clear. I got a call, we're not doing this deal. There's some reason they gave, and we'll put $10 million, XYZ. Was suddenly then for you being an entrepreneur, next day morning you are a villain for everyone. सुबह आपको 2 दिन 3 दिन तो फिर सुनना है कि boss, you don't know how to do deals, you should have involved us, you should have done this, that. So the entrepreneurship is that you are at top mate. It's like you are alone there. You have to take decision, you have to own that. Acha hua, you enjoy that whatever praise you are getting. Bura hua, be ready to get shot from all places. But that's what about entrepreneurship is all about, right? You are carrying that responsibility. You are making people, and every entrepreneur has to be very clear. People are so, लोगों को लगता है कि ये कंपनी खोल देंगे, फंडिंग हो जाएगा, $1 billion. अरे, they don't know. Unfortunately, 99, we all know that 90% of the startups fail. And the Marjack जब मैं चला रहा था, तो there I know that at least 1,000, 8 Flipkart बना, बस. Right, and then 2-4 और छोटे मोटे बन गए जो acquire हो गए. मेरे Marjack पे 4,000 startups आई थी, 4,000, all are end entrepreneurs from Amazon. Job छोड़ दिया, बच्चों के कपड़े का vertical बनाता हूँ, इसका ये बनाता हूँ. And my sales team, and I'll give the example. My sales team used to get them, and उनसे वो 50,000 rupees per month SaaS fees आता था. After 6 months, 8 months, I realized that हम कर क्या रहे हैं, क्योंकि ये शुरू में आता है जोश के साथ, his savings, friends and family का पैसा लेके 1 crore रुपए लेके बैठ जाता था. He used to start then, and we used to get those 6-7 lakhs. बाकी पूरा Google और Facebook पे जाता था advertising में, और लोगों की salary. Within 1 year, 8 months, उसका पूरा bank balance खत्म, funding जो dream से था तो वो आया था. I realized that I saw a lot of 40-50 people got closed their shop. They were not, the day they stopped paying my SaaS fees, we know that उनका मतलब खत्म हो गया, मतलब now they are not able to in that position. Then I started meeting these people whenever. So I made a rule that anybody non-core, मतलब जो brick and mortar है तो आने दो, they have to do it. But anything pure play, please let me also meet that client. And I met at least 30-40 guys, and I used to ask them कि क्या बना रहे हो. And then the next question I used to ask, कितना पैसा लगा रहे हो? They said, sir, 1 crore. Now last question used to be, ये 1 crore डूब गया तो कितना फर्क पड़ेगा लाइफ में? Right? The guy who has really made his mind 8 crore से फर्क नहीं पड़ता है, तो he said, no sir, it will not matter. Then come and start. If I say नहीं इससे तो मेरा पूरा ये खत्म हो जाएगा, बच्चों का ये हो जाएगा. I said, then don't get in here. Stop. My sales team used to hate me for that, right? I said, you will get 8 lakh rupees, 92 lakh rupees is going to give to Facebook and Google and a couple of employees. And what are you going to get out of it? He is not going to sustain here. You have to understand that. This is like you temporarily spike on your SaaS, but within 6 months, he's going to go out. So somewhere as an entrepreneur, I think people many times gets carried away by just the news around it, because media never publishes failures. They only publishes the success stories. And they see those glorified success stories of Zepto से लेके जो भी बड़े-बड़े हो जाते हैं, and they don't know 10 success stories which are 990 failures, and those never come. And I have seen many of them. And that makes you more humble. You know that it's not easy to be entrepreneur. It's not, there are some people who comes with a golden spoon, but not everybody has that luck. So you need to fight it through. It's not for the people with a weak heart. They should not get into entrepreneurship. Very clear. And entrepreneurship has to be in the blood. It cannot be taught. चलो 2 टैबलेट ले लो 7 दिन एंटरप्रेन्योर बन जाओगे, नहीं होता है. It need to be in the blood. So they need to come out, and उसके सिवाय you can't fight. It needs a lot of patience, perseverance, and I've seen many cases because I'm in the around the world. I see so many, and at least I meet 3-4 entrepreneurs per week. I have a very bad record of closing almost 100 plus startups, right? Telling them to don't run it. But then that's what, because I know that he will not be able to manage that journey. It's not easy journey at all.
Great, Abhay. It's good to know. In fact, I'm also connected with a lot of incubators, and hopefully after this talk, I would I'm pretty sure I would invite you as a judge in a couple of those events, and I think we would need this gun of yours there as well, because a lot of them are into that mode only कि अभी you आए थोड़ा सा seed fund उठाएंगे फिर ABCD करेंगे और करोड़पति बन जाएंगे. But I think these words of yours might be very helpful to a lot of young entrepreneurs, I guess.
Yeah. Very, very tough journey, and it's a lot of patience, perseverance. These are the 2 important things. भाई लगे रहो, हो जाता है, ऐसा नहीं होता है. But most of the people 6th month after they leave the job, that first SMS is very, very bad. I think they get habituated. 8 तारीख को SMS आता है. This is a salary credited to your account, and that is the worst part for entrepreneur. जिसको वो आदत लग गई है ना, after पहले 2 महीना he carries away very, 3rd month उसको feel होना कि SMS नहीं आ रहा है. They create a lot of liabilities in the loans and liabilities, and I think that create that vicious circle for the people to definitely come out. And time लगता है 10 years. Let me put it very straight. If somebody is building a startup and selling in 5 years, he's like God's some special gift he has got. But 99.99% people has to spend 8 to 10 years to really create a value out of a startup.
Oh, excellent estimation.
Why don't you think this also syncs up with what Kamal Rekhi said last week?
Exactly.
Yeah. he also almost gave the same time frame. I mean, great minds think alike. People who have that commitment, they think alike. And last time when we had this conversation, he talked about this 10 years time frame, and then he also talked about persistence, patience, perseverance, and all that, right?
No, I think that is the difference between an entrepreneur and a senior entrepreneur, right? Because senior entrepreneur has that gyan which he's sharing. For example, he has already seen that, so he can estimate that very precisely. That शुरू किया तो कितना में क्या होगा करके. And the same is, I think, pretty much the same with Kamal Rekhi as well, because he has, he's also a senior entrepreneur. So I think that's why the wisdom that you are sharing is very, very similar. Yeah. By the way, Sunay is also executive board member of IIT Bombay Alumni Association, and he already asked an interesting question, which goes back to the ideas that we were talking about. So a lot of your ideas were ahead of its time, and I specifically I'm taking this question in the end because I think I was thinking that okay, it would be better to ask in the end. So what are your views about other ideas which might be ahead of its time today? Because there are a lot of ideas in the market. What do you think about other ideas who might be ahead of its time? Yeah.
So I think again, this is for an entrepreneur, whatever idea he thinks, he feels the idea at a time aa gaya hai, right? The first thing, right? Because he doesn't want to listen to anybody. He has to time lagega. Blockchain. For last 8 years, 7 years, I have seen 100 business plans, 70 people coming to me and saying, "How to blockchain?" मैं उनको एक ही बोलता था, बॉस मेरे को समझ में नहीं आता है. अब मुझे नहीं लगता है कि इसका आइडिया है, इसका टाइम आया है. And they were giving some use case, ये करेंगे, वो करेंगे, all that, right? So now lot of people have spent a lot of time and energy and still spending time and energy on it for last couple of years. Now the problem is that there's no one except Brahmadev, no one else knows this idea at a time aaya, right? Again, there has to be a signal from the market, that instinct, that कचरे का idea at a time आया, हमको नहीं पता था. Frankly speaking, I never thought, everybody knows that Praveen ki this sustainability, circular economy was not the word when we started Recycle. हमने simple सोचा कि कचरे में disruption करते हैं, right? 2 साल देंगे, $1 million. If it works, we'll continue. And I had, God's grace, by then I had ability to invest that much, and my own money, my own friends' money only. So if that works, go ahead. Otherwise, finish it. 2 साल के बाद call off कर देते हैं. जब उतरे तो then 2 साल मेहनत किया, पता किया market में क्या हो रहा है, तो we got that yes, time has come for this. But it took 2 years. Almost 30 people team. Every day was like, kya kar rahe hum? Morning we used to go to office. We don't know why we're going to office, right? Even if you're coming back without anything, there is no direction in that period. But that conviction was there is something here in this space. Now you have to be very, very cognizant about it that running a startup needs money. One, real money. You have to build team, you have to invest on them, people have opportunity. Second, biggest one is opportunity cost. Somebody is putting 5 years on blockchain in from 2015 to 2020 is a loss of opportunity. Because 5 साल आप पीछे ले गए, right? 5 years, and those are the cream years of your life. So you need to be optimistic कि कहाँ पे balance करना है, किस चीज को करना है. Third thing happens, people connect with all the global success stories to India. That is another mistake they do, right? What works globally doesn't need to work, not necessarily has to work in India. Generally, what works in India works globally. Right. So you need to really look at a local problem, local idea to solve, rather than looking at copying somebody in US who has got 3 rounds of funding. That's a common mistake most of the people do. So many social networks got created in India after Facebook became so large. Guruji.com kind of search engines came in India, gayab ho gaya, right? So basically you need to be localized. You need to solve if you are an Indian entrepreneur. I'm talking about Indian entrepreneurs only. So then you need to look at the local problems, look at that, and the problem which you have faced personally. Malamal, as I said, Malamal was 10 years ahead of the time. Clearly, 1998 I started. It was supposed to be started in 2008. 10 years. SaaS, software as a service, I started in 2007. Its time came in 2010-11. 4 years ahead of the time. Waste management with all the gray hairs, which the learnings, I got that learning with my own experience that what is ahead of the time, what is not ahead of the time, little bit at least. So this time on sustainability, we were on time. And thanks, all the things started falling in place. In fact, COVID was a blessing in disguise for us because the behavior change happened. People started seriously thinking about sustainability. Nobody was talking about it. But previously it was only greenwashing. After COVID, we see that there's a serious effort on that. And people realize that we are nothing in the world. We are very, very small. Everyone realized it. So I think that change and being at the right time at right place also is important. Opportunity, you need to try, you need to be cognizant and get those signals. When we were getting signals in West management. Oh, hone wala hai. Kuch to hai yahan pe. But by then we had 17 years of experience in entrepreneurship, 15 years of entrepreneurship. So wahan pe your ability to read signals improves. For a new young guy who is coming in, he has to really look at what's around happening in the world and just don't copy what worked in US will work in India, or what worked in UK work in India. It doesn't work that way. There are some stories of that work also, but mostly Indian solutions need a different approach altogether.
So I think blockchain entrepreneurs might rethink who are already.
No. That's the example I gave. Might be a person that would understand that, but
no, because Sune specifically asked, what ideas do you think, are ahead of its time? So you just, one word is blockchain. That is what you have used. Nothing like that. Obviously, it's a joke. Yeah. Yeah, Venu. Yeah, please.
I think definitely, Vaibhav, you should rope in Abhayji into the incubator idea as well.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Very, very objectively speaking, you'll find out of say 100 people, 100 naysayers who'll tell you, no, this won't work. You'll only find 10 people who'll tell you why it won't work or why something is bad, because 90% of those people are, everybody who has no experience, no idea in anything, and they're probably your distant relatives or family members or friends who just tell you, "Arey, leave this, just go back to your job," and so on. So I think those 10 people are very crucial to find. So I think it's great to interact with Abhayji in that regard. So Vaibhav, you should definitely rope him in if you get the chance.
Sure. So I think there are no more questions from the audience, right? Yeah. Great.
I think Abhay has done amazing justice, So if a question was thrown at him, he responded in long form, and he addressed sub questions that were there in the question. So, so obviously, yes, I mean.
So maybe I think before people could ask question, it was already answered. I think that's what is happening.
Yes,
Yeah.
and Abhayji, tell me one thing. I mean, how can you remain so humble? I mean, this is what I want to know, because I know patience, perseverance, all that is fine. Humility, do you consider that as an important characteristic for a good entrepreneur?
Very important, I think, Praveen. I will give him, if I have to look at 5 characteristics in the entrepreneurs, humility is very important. And I have seen people getting carried away with the small successes, the attitude comes into their behavior. One thing might be, I will not say to you, because I have seen so much of worst part in my entrepreneurial journey, right? I have seen, ego naamki cheez bachti. I tell people that the person with the highest ego, make him an entrepreneur, throw him in the market, meet him after 1 year. Ego thanda ho jayega pura, because the way, because you have ego of your post or your position or somewhere. Once you go out, you're nothing. Might be the way I have seen the world, and it is a long journey. Like the 17 years of struggle is not small. That makes you realize that all these things today you might have and I was always, you might have a $20 million worth virtual equity in your account, but in the real, what's the reality? You see that real and virtual world together, and you interact with so many people. So many people come to you. So many humble people support you during the journey. So many close people you trust, and they don't respond properly. So many learnings you get during this period. So this makes you that it was be grounded. And it happens. I think I'm not the exception. Many of the people who have gone through this struggle as an entrepreneur gets grounded naturally. I don't think I have any special God's gifts or anything. The 16, 17 years, that first 17 years, you learn so much. Humanity comes naturally.
This also takes me back to our flight journey. Obviously, yes, I was late, and then you accommodated me with a lot of humility. And then you said something which still is stuck in my ears. You said that, well, the moment I saw you, I knew that we'll get along very well. That's what you said during that conversation.
Yeah.
And trust me, I mean, nothing but huge respect for you. And Vaibhav is from Hyderabad, the chapter of IT Bombay Alumni Association. And we will make it a point to make you part of all the association related things and all the entrepreneurship related things that we do under the aegis of the association. Vaibhav, you should actually take this opportunity. Actually, you should simply grab this opportunity. He's too good.
Sure. In fact, yes, just yesterday only, I was at IT Hyderabad, and there is a course they have started, in tech entrepreneurship, and they're always looking for profiles like you, जो कि ground realities बता सके, because a lot of series ABCD and crore funding is happening, but then what are ground realities? What's happening there?
And I'm happy to contribute. We should catch up in Hyderabad.
Sure. I'll stay in touch.
Next we should, and I'm ready to contribute whatever I could do in my capacity.
Sure. The next time I'm in India, Hyderabad, Abhay, I will certainly come to your Gachibowli office, and I'll come and meet you.
In fact, today morning only I was in Gachibowli. I just moved back to Lucknow to my native place. In fact, otherwise, maybe tomorrow only I would have met you. I would try to meet you. Next time, whenever I come, for sure. So Venu, I think there is no more questions. So maybe you can, maybe you can go ahead with the formal closure. Yeah.
Right. Definitely. So thanks for that, Vaibhav. And I'm sure, Abhay, I think just like everyone here, I think even I would want to come to your office. Like I said, when we were discussing, the next time I'm in Hyderabad, I'm definitely dropping by your office. As I make that pit stop towards my office, I think your office is very close by, so we'll meet in either of the places. So that is something on my to-do list for sure.
So 3 things I promise you if you visit our office. One is a very good quality tea, Hyderabad biryani, and a lot of positivity when you leave the office.
Oh, excellent.
Absolutely, Abhay. I think that's one of the very, 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 very strong takeaways from this session for a lot of people. And especially even if people have attended this live, I'm sure people will rewatch this video on YouTube just whenever you're down low in the spirit, you want to, feel the positivity, you can just take a refresher of this, and it'll be like, all right, I know where I am. I can see the struggle of a person who has gone through, say, 25 long years of a journey, who's seen more downs but learned from them. So all of those sort of lessons that you imbibe to get success, and just the ability, the learnings. I think people will have different learnings, but the ability to spot those learnings comes from your inherent attitude, which of course people will need to develop, or they will develop in the due course of their journey, as you mentioned. But a lot of very positive takeaways for all of us. So thank you very much, Abhayji, for attending to do this session and taking this. And thanks a lot, Praveenji, for chiming in wherever required, adding those views. And I'm sure, like I mentioned at the start, that connection of your flight delay was a blessing in disguise. So we can appreciate that.
No,
Yeah. No, in fact, talking about positivity, I think this whole group of 4 people I see, is positivity is pretty high. That the same I feel already about Praveenji, and after talking to Abhay, I'm feeling the pretty much same, and Venu also I feel the same. So I think the conversation itself, if somebody is listening to it, or would say in the future, they may say that maybe 4 friends are talking informally. They may feel something like that rather than like I know the tech talk or a tech normal session. Yeah, because normally what we have felt in the past 2 sessions, the speaker speaking a lot more than we trying to interact, how we have done this particular session. So this was amazing. Yeah. So Praveenji, any closing words that you would like to say?
Closing words. Thank you so much, Abhayji. Thank you so much. It has really been a pleasure to host you here, and I knew that you will do great justice to the concept that we have in mind, to the concept that Vaibhav has envisaged. I knew that you'll do great justice, and I know that lots of participants are here, and they will also watch this on YouTube. I will personally make it a point to send across this link to all my stakeholders. To all those guys that are mentor, I just want to send them this link and say, listen guys, बहुत ज्ञान हो चुका तुम लोगों का, ये ज्ञान सुनो. This is the right brass tacks ज्ञान. This is real brass tacks ज्ञान, and highly professional, highly pointed. Okay, so I will do that. And thank you so much again, Abhayji, for coming here, for making your presence felt. This is one of the most, I would rather say, most electrifying, high traction talks we have had, right, Vaibhav?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was trying to mention. Very positive talk, right? We have talked about a lot of things, but this seems to be a lot more positivity around. Yeah.
No. Thanks.
If I'm not wrong, you're from Aurangabad, right? That's what you said on the flight.
Yeah.
Yes. So fine. Now that's also registered. So yes.
All right, Abhayji, thanks a lot for your time. I think, time is.
Thanks, Vaibhav. Thanks, Venu, and thanks, Praveen. We'll catch you.
Yeah, thanks a lot. I'll stay in touch with you.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye. Bye.
Bye. Good night.